For those of you who are brand new to Google Analytics, really quickly, it's a free tool that helps you measure sales and conversions on your website and gives you detailed insights on how people are coming to your site, how they find the site, and then what they do on the site. So what I like to do, because analytics is so extensive, I like to think about data tracking in terms of ABC metrics. So acquisition, behavior, and conversion metrics. In terms of acquisition, it's all the ways that people find your site. Where do they come from? Who are your best supporters in terms of referrals to your site? And if you understand those acquisition metrics, you can understand how do you drive more traffic to your site. But getting people to your site is not the only thing you need to understand. In order to understand how your site is performing and what people do on the site, you need to start looking at behavior metrics. So what parts of the site are performing well, engage your audience the most? What features or pieces of content are they sharing? So there's a bunch of new social reports in Google Analytics that help you understand content on your site. If you have a share this function, so share via Twitter or share via Facebook, this is often on blog posts. Those social reports provide some insights there, as well as helping you better understand if you integrate your social media platforms with Google Analytics, it will help you understand what types of content people are liking and sharing that are driving visitors to your site. Another big topic right now is mobile. So as people adopt more iPads and smartphones and tablets, we have more and more mobile visitors coming to our site. So understanding how to look at various audience segments, in particular that mobile segment, and what they're doing in comparison to a desktop segment is a really important thing to start considering now. And then conversions, the biggest, most important thing. What types of behavior on our site either drive sales or lead to sales? So if you are a non-e-commerce site, so you're not selling books on your site, then conversions for you would be non-revenue based conversions, but still things that suggest intent. So people downloading an excerpt of a book, maybe signing up for your newsletter so you can continue marketing to them. If it's a website like eBound, maybe it's registering for a webinar. And if you are selling online, then it's any revenue generating action like making a purchase. So Google Analytics, it's really just two things. It's the reporting dashboard and a piece of code that goes on every single page of your website. And it's complicated. I don't know why it's so hard. I think it's because it's built by engineers. The Google Analytics learning curve is really steep. I know that lots of you are familiar with me, but I thought I would throw a couple of milestones up on the screen there, just basically to say I have over 15 years of experience trying to figure out the web and Google Analytics. So if you are having a look at your data weekly or monthly or maybe even quarterly, or you sort of are thinking about it, which is why you signed up for the webinar, then don't worry about it. I look at it every day and still get lost trying to find certain things. So the webinar today is really to help you get up to speed quickly and to provide you some tips and tools on how to use this rather complex tool. So before I just launch into a live version of analytics, we'll look at all the reports, I just want to go back to this ABC metrics idea, because what I'm really looking for are not necessarily do the numbers go up or down. I'm looking for what actions can I take out of that? What kind of task list can I create in order to improve the performance of my website, in order to improve the experience people are having on the site, and to improve sales if I'm selling, or things that lead to sales, those precursors. So ABC metrics, the acquisition, where do people come from? We're going to look at the reports that help you understand traffic and visitor sources. The behavior, what people do on the site, we'll look at activation. So are people actively engaged with the content on your site? How long do they stay on the site on the first visit? Retention, do they come back? Can you retain their attention? Do they look at more than one page on the site? Do they sign up for a newsletter? Do they do things that suggest to you that they have some sort of purchase intent? Referrals, so do they love you so much that they refer traffic to you? They link to you either on social media or on a blog. And then revenue, so what kind of conversions lead to or influence revenue for your particular site? So I'll just launch into Google Analytics, and our friends at 49th Shelf have kindly let me use their data for the presentation today. And if you're not familiar with 49th Shelf, it's a site devoted entirely to Canadian books. And in terms of what I'm interested in tracking for 49th Shelf is, are people browsing the books? Are they clicking on titles that are featured? Are they signing up or signing in to become a member of the site in order to add content to recommended reading lists or to post information on the literary map of Canada? Are they reading our stuff? So we spend a lot of time developing an editorial calendar and regularly publishing to the blog. Are those efforts worthwhile? Are people actually reading that? And then are they following us on Twitter and Facebook? Are they searching for particular titles? So when they click on one of these detail page titles, the thing that I'm looking for here is, are they doing those kind of ABC metrics? They're actually looking, we're acquiring them as traffic for one thing. Are they doing those behaviors online, like signing in or signing up, adding content to the site, reading our stuff? And are they taking actions that suggest some type of conversion or sales intent, purchase intent? Because 49th Shelf doesn't sell online, that conversion for me is, are they clicking on buy this book at one of these retailers? So I want to be able to know if they're leaving the site, are they leaving because they've clicked and gone to another site to look at this particular title? Because it's a non-e-commerce site, the other things that I'm looking at are they taking actions that create that sense of referral? So they're referring content on the site by email to a friend, or posting on Facebook, posting on Twitter? Or are they giving me some type of indicator that they intend to come back? So they're clicking on Twitter or Facebook, where I can then look at, are they subscribing or following us through those other networks? So when I look at Google Analytics and I sort of log in, the very first screen that you get is an overview screen of your audience. And each of the reports in the sidebar here, audience, traffic, content conversions, you get a main overview screen that shows you a timeline and then some generic kind of rolled up aggregated averages, average information that happens below. Couple of things, if you're new, you can change the time frame. The default time frame is 1 month, so you change that here. For those of you who are more familiar, you're probably already aware that you can compare 1 month of data to another month of data. What I like to do, because I'm looking at analytics regularly, when I'm checking in each month, I'm looking month over month to understand what are the trends in the data. Are things up or down? But because it's publishing and there are seasonal fluctuations, I'm often looking not necessarily at how was March in comparison to February. I'm looking at how was March this year in comparison to March last year. How was Q1 this year in comparison to Q1 last year? So I'm looking for bigger trends in the data to understand overall site performance. I'm going to use March of last year for our data set today because I was running some AdWords campaigns and other things that I want to be able to show you in the data. So this is that default screen. The other thing of interest here is that you have annotations. And some people know that this little zipper collapses and expands the annotations, but maybe they don't use them. So what you want to start doing is creating some sort of correlation between your marketing activities and what's happening in those traffic fluctuations. So in order to look back at the data historically, you need to document what types of campaigns or promotions you were running, or what types of changes were happening either on your site or off-site that could have an impact on your traffic. So a quick example of things that we were interested in here, Facebook last year switched over how the timeline looked. So your Facebook page, if you had a Facebook page and you were actively engaged with your audience there, Facebook made a really big change. I created an annotation for that. You just have this little create new annotation. So I created the annotation for that because I wanted to be able to see in the analytics, did that affect my Facebook traffic? So when we look at traffic sources in a couple of minutes, what you can do is say, you can segment that traffic and say, just show me my Facebook traffic. And then I want to be able to see, is there a traffic spike up or down for my Facebook referral traffic? And it's going to help answer, did timeline have an effect? Because it's a change that's happened on another website, you're not really able to change anything because of that, but you're at least able to know, oh, my numbers are down or my numbers are up. It has a relationship to this event that has occurred. The same thing happens if you change things in your own website. So, we switched up the way that we were doing Google Analytics codes. I want to add that as a marcation or an annotation in the timeline so that if I have a dip in my data or something that is a problem I've caused or big changes on the site, that's documented and we're able to look back historically and say, oh yes, this is what happened here. Other off-site things, anytime that Google has a big algorithm change that they announce, I create an annotation for that as well because I want to be able to see within that traffic report, does my organic search go up and down as a result of an algorithm change? Did that affect me and my site? Other things that I'm usually annotating here, anytime a big campaign starts. So we start running Google ads, or we do a big author tour, or we participate with the festivals. I put in the festival start and end dates in relation to our promotion dates because I want to be able to have a better understanding of which of my marketing activities are having the best, most positive effect on the site because I want to be able to replicate those. So moving on to the next report in audience, I find the location information sometimes interesting. I just want to show you the drill downs here on this report. If you are thinking about co-op spend or sending authors on tours, or you're doing blogger outreach or media in a particular city, what you get here is just a nice visual of where the majority of your traffic is. You can drill down to particular cities and locations, or you can sort of hover over here to get quick kind of numbers on what's going on. So I find that really helpful, again, if I'm suggesting, blogger outreach and I'm looking for local bloggers in particular areas. If I have an author in a particular area, if I am doing any type of event, I find that report kind of helpful. I mentioned mobile at the beginning. These mobile reports are interesting because they show you the adoption of mobile devices among your audience. So at the top here we can see that 8% of the 49 Shelf traffic last year at this time was coming from a mobile device, the primary one being Apple iPad, iPad and iPhone. The interesting thing here is if you're getting up to that 8 to 10%, then you really want to start looking at how does that mobile traffic compare in terms of their performance on the site versus desktop traffic. So I can see here that the average visit duration is less than a minute in comparison to my site average, which is almost 2 minutes. And same with the bounce rate. I've got a higher bounce rate. So those two metrics alone tell me that my mobile traffic is having more difficulty navigating the site because it's not optimized for a mobile experience. They're viewing fewer pages, they're spending less time on the site, and they're leaving more frequently than a desktop visitor. So it's time to start thinking about how, what kind of budget do I need in order to have a mobile optimized version of my site. And when I talk about mobile optimized version, you want to have a one URL solution. So you want to make sure that you're not creating a separate website that is like an m.mywebsite.com. It's always mywebsite.com. Otherwise, what's happening, especially from a data perspective, is you're splitting that traffic. You're going to have one profile for your main website and another profile for your mobile website, and you're going to be constantly trying to marry those two data sets. The reason why that's not the way to go is that as more and more people adopt these mobile devices, what happens is maybe they subscribe to your newsletter on the desktop, and then they read their iPhone on their commute to work, and they read your newsletter and they click on those links that come to your website. Maybe they're using social media and they follow those links. You don't want to suddenly have people sharing an m.url versus the main website URL because we're always using these cross devices. So one URL is the way to go. The other way to see that mobile traffic or any other audience segment, again, because Google Analytics is aggregating all the data to show you averages in each of these reports, is to use either the preset kind of default audience segments or to create some custom segments of your own. So one of the default settings when I want to really see how does my mobile traffic compare to my desktop traffic, I could have called this desktop traffic, but I've randomly called it mobile traffic excluded, but that's what it is. It's desktop traffic in comparison to mobile traffic. I can look at how do these two segments compare on the site. Any report that I look at now in analytics is going to show me these two traffic segments. I could also use this if I want to see show me only traffic from Facebook because I want to see that up or down related to the timeline change, or show me only traffic that comes from Google Analytics search. Another way that I use these advanced segments is that as I'm going through a site, I start to try and figure out what does a casual user on the site do in comparison to a heavy user on the site. What's that break point for number of visits where it changes from a casual visitor to a heavy user. I can look at people who do conversion on the site. So in the case of e-commerce sites, show me people who make a purchase versus people who don't. What you're doing by looking at your audience in a more segmented manner is you're trying to better understand the visitor flow through the site, the decisions, the intent that occurs for those users who are going to do the types of actions that you really want them to do versus the people who don't. And if you can understand what those differences are, then you can start understanding how to change or modify or create incentives for those casual users to become more heavy users of the site. So I'm going to change this back to all visits and carry on. And of course, we've got lots of time at the end for questions, so I'm happy to come back to these. So when we look at the traffic reports, which are the next ones, I do look at the sources of traffic, all traffic, but the one I want to show you here is the search organic traffic. So what's happened is Google has created a bit of a black hole in the data for us. So anytime someone is logged in to a Google account, so maybe they have a Google Plus page that they update, or they're using analytics, or they use Google Apps for domains. Anytime you're logged into Google, your traffic information and your visitor information is not being recorded and made visible to site administrators anymore. So all I get now is this black hole of not provided or not set, which is a bit inconvenient because, as you can see, it's a large portion of your audience. If you're running a very technical website, so if I was O'Reilly and I'm publishing a bunch of computer and more technical books, it's more likely that the majority of my audience is logged into some type of Google application because that's my target audience and that's what they would be doing. So you'd have even less information in your analytics and would need to be thinking about another way to sort of understand what people are doing on your site. But for most publishers, we still, even though it's a huge percentage of traffic that tends to get blocked out, we still have enough information we can make some good decisions on. So what we're looking at here is what keywords are people using on search engines. It doesn't have to be Google only, Google, Bing, Yahoo, any search engine. What are those keyword terms that people are using when our site shows up in search results and they click to come to our website? That term that they use, that phrase, is sort of logged in this report. So that's kind of handy if you just want to have a big look at it. But when I sort of scan down and see, oh, Martin Picard Sugar Shack, well, maybe I want to know what are the other keyword phrases that people are using in order to find that particular title listing. So I can use this little search box here to say, show me every keyword phrase that contains Sugar Shack. What I'm doing once I have this keyword list is I'm able to say, okay, here are all the phrases that people are using to find me in search. Can I include these phrases in my social media when I encourage people to check out this book? Can I use it in blog posts, especially in the title of the blog post? Can I look at the landing page for this book and make sure that the meta title is using a variation of one of these phrases. So I'm taking this information and trying to figure out how do I use the words that other people are using on my own site rather than using the words that I think I should use, or this is especially true in other industries where there's a lot of jargon. You know, what inside the company we call the widget, outside the company regular human beings might call the thingamabob. So you want to be using the thingamabob instead of widget. That's the same thing here. You're trying to use those keywords in order to improve the actual site content on your website. The other thing that I look at here is the social reports. I mentioned those at the beginning. The overview, if you are running e-commerce, it will connect the dots for you on what effect those social networks are having on your conversions. And the main reports here are the network referrals, where it shows you traffic from that network and how many visits they've made. Data Hub activity will show you, again, this is one of those engineering things. Always look for the other links, because inevitably the information that's hidden is more important than what they show you as the default. So the events, this is showing me Data Hub activity means tell me about activity on my website, and this is showing me the type of content that people are saving to read later, are using a Google +1 on, are retweeting, or sharing. And if I know and understand what that type of content is, then I can make changes in my editorial calendar and in terms of the type of content I'm sharing on social media sites, because I know this is the type of content that people are sharing from the website. So maybe I can figure out how do I share it in Facebook or Twitter. We've got to look here at landing pages, trackbacks, conversions, all these other things, but all of these reports, whether we're looking at the traffic reports or the audience reports, content reports in a second, these defaults are kind of missing the primary column, which is conversions, right? It's good to know Facebook sends me more traffic than Twitter, but should I be spending more time in Facebook then? Not necessarily. Not if that Twitter audience, it might be fewer people come from Twitter, but more people sign into the site, or more people from Twitter then create a reading list, or spend more time reading blog content, or share our stuff. So you really want to know what does that conversion information look like? How do we create that type of report? Well, that's a bit of an advanced feature under customization. And I've created a bunch of these reports. The site performance report, I will share a link with you at the end of the presentation so you're able to get this report. But basically what I'm doing is creating exactly the information that I want to see. I want to be able to see, yes, the source of that traffic, and yes, you know, how many visits I'm getting from that source. But I also want to see the bounce rate. Bounce rate is they come and they leave. They don't go to any other page. So I want to be able to know if I'm doing blogger outreach and I get a ton of traffic from Pickle Me This, and I get even more traffic from SoMisguided.com, does the SoMisguided.com traffic stick around and do anything in comparison to the Pickle Me This traffic, who maybe does all of those actions on the site that are important and have some value to me? So what you do is you assign in this report, show me all the goal completions, and then break it down for me into the types of goals that are important for my particular site. So I don't have any reporting data here. I just set it up as a template to show you that, you know, I might want to be looking at member signups for 49 Shelf. I might be wanting to look at the goal conversion rate. My secondary goal of do people create reading lists or other information, because I know that if they create content on the site, they're going to share it with other people, either through social media or through their blog. And then I'm looking at visits that include a search, because I want to know which traffic segments actually use that search function, and then I can look at what types of content are they actually searching for. So this report, when I send it to you, you'll click this edit button, and you'll look for, instead of member sign up, yours will just say goal 1, but you'll want to type in the word goal and kind of scan down to see, you're looking for goal completion, and you may be using different numbers than I am. Your primary goal might be goal number 4 or goal number 1. So you just sort of click and select the exact goal that is for you, and then hit save at the end. So back to our regular reports. After the social reports, there's also advertising. So if you do any type of Google AdWords campaigns, then you get that information rolled up here as well. Again, you want to be looking for that second link. So the way that Google Ads work, you create ad groups and you group your ads basically into categories. So I have an ad group for all the teen books on the site, for all the fiction titles, kids titles, nonfiction books, books for dads. At the time we were trying to do a bit of an early Father's Day push. If I click, anytime you have a word here that is linked, you've got some type of drill down. So it allows me to click through and see what were all of those keywords that were related to my teen ad group, teen ads, and again, what type of visits did they bring, how many goals did they complete, was there any revenue that was generated from that if I have an e-commerce site. So the default report in AdWords thankfully has a goal completion and revenue column, but you may also want to create a custom report for yourself that has a little bit more details around your advertising, or creates this type of report if you're doing banner advertising or things that are beyond AdWords. If you have any other ad campaigns that are running, you could create a custom report that has these same type of columns and information for you. Moving on to the content report, and again, I do look at a lot of other reports here. I just want to show you some of the reports that you might be less familiar with and how I kind of manipulate Google Analytics in order to give me the information that I want. So the content report, what I'm looking at here is, what's the top content on the site? These are the top pages in terms of traffic. Are there any surprises? Are there any titles here that are unexpected? If that's the case, then I want to look at that title and better understand, well, what are the sources of traffic to this title? Is there suddenly a whole bunch of people on Facebook are sending traffic to this page? Was that me? Did I promote it through Facebook? Or is there something else going on? Anytime you've got those spikes to particular pages, it's a good time to think about, well, do you feature that more prominently on your website? Do you promote that title through social media? Is there some sort of resurgence for a backlist title that maybe is unexpected? This kind of report is going to give you a little bit of an insight into that. So what I can see here is, again, I'm going to drill down and check out the giveaways. So the giveaways was a new page that we had created around this time, and we started gently promoting it in anticipation of doing a stronger campaign over the summer. The giveaways page, you had to log into the site as a member in order to sign up for a chance to win a giveaway or to get free copies of different books. So again, the main report that I'm sent to is less interesting for me in answering this question of how are people getting to that page, and are they actually signing up? Is the chance of winning free books incentive enough? What I can do is look at this navigation summary. So the navigation summary is showing me how people got to that page. So 35% of them, it was the first page they landed on. So it's an entrance or a landing page, which means they came from off-site. So somewhere in a social media, on another person's blog, in an email campaign, they saw a link to this page and clicked to it directly. The previous pages, I can see all the other pages they were on before they came to my giveaways page. But what happened after they were on that page? What did they do? Well, 30% of them left the website completely, but 68% of them went to another page. And I can see within that breakdown, oh yes, it was incentive enough because here are the people who then logged in, and here are the people who registered. I know that those are the two actions that are required out of this page. So if you're running a type of contest or anything where you need people signing up, this is an interesting report to have a look at. If I look at this login, I can kind of keep carrying on through this general visitor flow through the site to try and get a better understanding of what people did. So they were on the giveaways page, they clicked to the login, and then what? They're on the login, where did they go? Well, lots of them forgot their password. some of them went and clicked register, so maybe they realized they didn't have a login. And then a few of them went back to the giveaways. So this navigation summary helps give me an idea of how is traffic flowing through the site. And when I have campaign landing pages, so I'm running a big ad campaign and I'm sending people to a particular book detail page or another very specific landing page on the site, I use this navigation summary to get a better understanding of what are people doing once they're on that page, where are they going, and how are they progressing through the site. The other thing that I like to do with that all pages content around this time was there was a lot of attention for a Freedom to Read recommended reading list. So I can search, under page title, because I want to search by keyword. I'm going to search for Freedom to Read in order to find, yes, here's this challenged book. And I want to look at the blog post. And then that secondary dimension where I showed you previously you could search for keyword, in this particular case I want to know how did people get to this Freedom to Read blog post. I can see that there's a lot of page views for it, that there was a traffic spike, but I want to know why that is. Where did those people come from? So I can type in source in order to see what were the traffic sources. So show me all traffic sources that were coming to this page. So, well, Facebook, was I promoting it on Facebook or was someone else promoting it on Facebook? These are actionable things that I can do to try and sort out, okay, that it's not just that my traffic is up or down, it's where did that traffic come from? So how did I acquire it? What are they doing on the site? So where do they go after they hit that page? And does it lead to a conversion? I'm looking at those custom reports in order to answer some of those questions. The other thing that we have in the content section is events. So events are kind of interesting. We didn't have events set up at the time. Events, you have to manually establish what is considered an event on your site. So things that people share, they click on those share by Facebook, share by Twitter, retweet. They're clicking on those buy links. So on our book detail page, they're clicking these little links here. These are all things that pop up or take me someplace outside of my website versus I've gone from this page and I clicked to see, more information on this other page. I'll just go back to my slide presentation for a second to explain the difference between goals and events because it's always a little bit confusing for people. Oops, I've gone back to the start. So goals versus events. When you set up conversion goals on the website, so do people, complete their order, for example, there's usually a very distinct path or flow through the website. The same way we're looking at that navigation summary report where they went to the giveaways page, they went to the register page, they went to the forgot password page, right? There's a distinct path or flow through the site. Shopping cart example, you view the cart, you say yes, you get to another screen where you enter your shipping and billing information, you say yes, you get to another page where they say please confirm your order, you click to complete your order and you land on a final thank you page. Right? This is what Google Analytics considers a goal because there's a very distinct path or flow through the site. There's a change in URL. But events, the way that I was showing you that sign-up box just sort of opens and closes. Those social media links, if I click on it, I leave the site. There's no distinct path that can be tracked in Google Analytics. There's just this change in URLs. But there's definitely a task or action that was taken that is important to me as a site administrator and someone trying to understand analytics. I want to know were those actions taken because they are indicators of sort of intent or they're precursors to revenue. So I want to be able to track those. And the way that you do that is by setting up an event. And I have a blog post that explains step-by-step how to do that. But very basically, instead of just having in the code, if someone clicks on this, take them to twitter.com, for example, you're adding analytics information, or you're adding sort of details to the code that says when someone clicks on twitter.com, so on click, push to Google Analytics to the event report, that someone has clicked in the event category called follow, and the thing that they did was they clicked on the Twitter button. So I've created an event category called follow, and the actions within that category are follow us on Twitter, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Google+. So you're creating a little string of data in order to have that information actually start recording in Google Analytics. So when you look at that events report, you'll see that I've got these categories. They're just bigger buckets that help me sort the information that's going to appear in analytics. And there's a drill down. So if I click on that, I'm going to see my event actions. Add it to a list, share on Facebook, share by email, share by Twitter. Another thing that has to be manually set up or needs some work to do is e-commerce. So if you have any e-commerce on your website, you have to put a piece of e-commerce code onto all of your product pages, the thank you for your order pages, all of these things in order to start collecting that data within analytics. So just back to goals and conversions, events appear under the content section, and then conversion, so goals in e-commerce appear under this conversion section. So goals, as I said, there's a very distinct path or change in the flow through the site. So the member sign up, sign in, reading lists, and then two of the contests are things that we're tracking at 49 Shelf. The way that you set up a goal, again, I have a step-by-step blog post that will walk you through this, but you need to have admin access. You have to be able to click on that admin tab, pick your profile, and then see goals. If you don't have admin access, you're not going to be able to see this. So you need to find out who that IT person is that has admin access. So what you're going to do when you set up a goal is make sure you give your goal a name. Don't leave it as the default goal 1, goal 2, goal 3, because then your reports are not going to make any sense later on. You'll make that goal active. And for the most part, you're going to have a goal as a URL destination. You're going to land on that thank you page or that activate page or register page or thank you for your order page. The final destination is that thank you, and that's the goal. Get someone to that thank you for your order page. The funnel are the steps that lead up to that final goal page. So when people set up goals, the thing that they often run into trouble doing is they put the first page here, so view your order, confirm your order, click through to the thank you page. You actually have to flip this around. The very last page is the actual goal, get me to the end. And then the funnel is your chronological order leading up to that event, or sort of end goal. Events, once you set up events, you can also track them as goals. So instead of having your goals or sort of conversions in two separate reports, I've got to look at my goal report and I have to look at my events report. There are certain events or things on the site that are highly valuable to you. So for 49 Shelf, member sign up, sign in. These are events that we also track as goals. So you might change that to track an event. And then you're going to pick your category, and those are those groups that I talked about, and you're going to pick the action. So maybe I want to be, if this was tracking on Twitter, I want to say this is, my category is follow, and it is equal to or matches Twitter. That would give me that report for the event that we looked at. I'm not going to save those. I'll just go back to my main reporting screen. These main default reports, you're able to email them, any of the individual reports to yourself. You can set up a frequency for that. So if there's a report that you are often looking for, you can just send it to yourself. All of these custom reports, you can also set them up so that they get sent by email to you on a regular basis. I often set up reports for different people in the organization that are perfectly tailored to what they need. And the other reporting section is dashboards. So Google Analytics has these dashboards that you can create that, again, if you are going to analytics and you're looking at the same reports all the time, or you want just a very quick overview of the report information, what you can do is create a dashboard. And I've got a template of publisher KPI dashboard that I will share with you as well so that you don't have to create these from scratch. But one thing to know about those, these are set up for my goals. You want to set them up for yours. If you hover over, there's a little pencil icon. That's going to help you edit. And again, you're going to change this to be the goal for your particular site. Here, I'm tracking goal number 4. You might have goal number 1 or goal number 11 that you want to change this to. So back to our slides, and then we'll take some questions. The main purpose of analytics is not necessarily just to be, transcribing your general website metrics from Google Analytics into a spreadsheet, which is, I know, what a lot of people do. It's really to start thinking about how do you make some sense of those analytics in order to create the to-do list for yourself of how you improve your website. So if you're paying for traffic, is it working? If you're doing outreach, which sites are most valuable to you? If you're spending time on marketing activities, which activities perform the best on the site? So always think about those ABCs, right? Acquisition, are people aware of us? Those are your traffic source reports. You're going to look at the referral traffic, the search. You just want to break it down into segments. Once people are on the site, what's their behavior? Are they researching your material? Are they reading your stuff? Are they becoming familiar with your content? Those are some of the content paths, that navigation summary that we looked at. Are they forming an opinion? Is your book under consideration? If you have non-revenue goals and events set up in place, then those are going to be things like, did they visit a product page? Did they download an excerpt? Did they enter a contest, exit the site via social media? And conversions, right? If intent is formed, purchase intent, then what actions do they take? Is it a no and they bounce, they leave the site? Or is it a yes? Is there some type of conversion that takes place? And within those conversion reports, you're able to look at number of purchases, whether you're able to upsell them, what the average order value is, what the e-commerce conversion rate is per channel, so per source of traffic. So all of those pieces of information tell you a little bit more about what's happening with your website and how to improve it. Sort of month over month, top line reporting metrics, I start grouping them into these like acquisition, the activation, retention, referral section, and revenue sections. So if you're doing that in a spreadsheet, and that spreadsheet has other formulas and things that you need to keep in terms of understanding the own puzzle piece that is your website, then maybe it's just a matter of reshuffling that tracking spreadsheet into those categories to think more about that customer flow through the site or the customer life cycle. So my recommendation is next steps. You want to be analyzing your data minimum on a quarterly basis. So I always tell people look at it weekly, look at it monthly, but nobody listens to me. So just at least do it quarterly and actually spend the time to analyze your data. Make sure you've set up goals and events in e-commerce if you're selling online, and really know what the ABCs are for your site. The traffic reports to pay the most attention to, create that custom report so you can always see conversions in relation to volume of traffic. Make sure you are creating segments for your audience so you can really look at what kinds of people actually do the stuff that is valuable to us as a business. How do I segment out that audience? Use that top content in order to make good editorial decisions about what you're blogging about, what you're sharing on social media. And then use all that sort of general visitor section information, not just the volume of visitors, but have a look at what day people are coming to your website. So when you launch promotions or campaigns, or even send out your email newsletter, you're doing that on the day that has the most traffic to your site. Jordan asked me to mention Universal Analytics. I'll just quickly say it's a new piece of code. You want to add it in addition to your existing Google Analytics right now. At some point there'll be a transition where Universal Analytics, I think, will become the default analytics program that's being used. But it offers a ton of new features in terms of customizing how those reports look for you within analytics. And if I was a retailer, if I was Indigo, I would definitely be looking at this because of the multi-platform tracking. So if you have customer loyalty cards and you can marry that to an online user account, then you can start tracking offline purchases and online purchases within analytics.